This is the Pitbull Steven Idol, and you are watching the RO Sports Show.
Good evening and welcome to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. This is your June 21st edition, and coincidentally enough, this is our 21st episode. So we've made it to number 21. Of course, the RO Sports Show, as always, as I mentioned, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. I am your host, Matt Harrelson. To my right, as always, our regulars, Jeremy McKenzie and Russell Parker. Now, just when we thought we were done with NBA, of course, the finals ended, but we are far from done talking about NBA in general. Of course, tonight at 7 o'clock, basically as soon as we get done here this evening, guys, the NBA draft will be taking place again at 7 p.m. on ESPN. So, I figured we'll start right there. We have set up, just like we did a month ago with the NFL mock draft, we have set up our own RO Sports Show mock draft. The order is going to be Russell starting out, then myself, then Jeremy, 1, 2, 3. We're going to do all 30 picks for the first round until we get done and see who ends up where. So, with all that being said, Russell start us out with the Phoenix Suns number 1.
Oh, in the first pick of the 2018 NBA draft, the Phoenix Suns are going to select DeAndre Ayton from Arizona. I mean, the guy is big and he can do it on the post and is agile enough to, step up and shine.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a big guy who, like you said, can protect around the rim, but can also step out and make some jumpers if need be. Coming in with the second pick, the Sacramento Kings. We have them selecting Marvin Bagley III, power forward out of Duke. Of course, we got to see a lot of him being in the ACC, but a versatile big man. Is kind of the right fit for a team that drafted a point guard just last year. So they're always in the need for guys down low that can score. So I think Marvin Bagley III is a great pick for the Kings.
And for the 2018 NBA draft, the third overall will be Atlanta Hawks will be drafted Jared Jackson, power forward out of Michigan State. He already can prove that he consistently can score, but needs to prove on his offensive skills.
All right.
Well, with the fourth pick in the 2018 NBA draft, Memphis Grizzlies are going to select Mohamed Bamba from Texas. Yeah, his workouts has been pretty impressive. Showing that offensive skill has really improved on that.
Yeah, and this guy is, I think he's like 7 foot tall, which you're going to notice a theme as we move through this draft. There's a lot of centers, a lot of big men that are going to come off the board as we expect. Mohamed Bamba being one of those. A position that the Grizzlies are going to need moving forward. With the 5th overall pick, I have the Dallas Mavericks taking Luka Doncic, the guard/forward from Slovenia. Of course, we've already said that we expected Doncic to not last maybe past 2 or 3. So obviously, if he makes it to number 5, the Mavericks will be ecstatic with that pick. So moving on.
And also with 2018 NBA draft with the 6th overall Orlando Magic draft, Oklahoma's point guard Trae Young. We look at a guy who can just be more than a shooting guard. He can also spread a perimeter and get some things going.
Absolutely.
With the 7th pick in the NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls are going to pick up Wendell Carter Jr. He's a physical specimen, and Carter can do a little bit of everything on the court.
And another Dookie coming off the board early. With the 8th overall pick, we're kind of surprised to see the Cleveland Cavaliers here, but as we mentioned, this was that pick they picked up from the Brooklyn Nets. But we have the Cavs taking Michael Porter Jr., the small forward from the University of Missouri. Now, of course, we have talked about him before. There is some concern with the back problems that he had last season. He only played in just a couple of games. But as we mentioned in that same breath, if he's healthy, this guy can be a star.
Okay. In the 2018 NBA draft, with the 9th overall pick, the New York Knicks go after Mikal Bridges, the guard forward from the national champions Villanova. He's tough, but he can also play multiple positions.
All right.
Number 10 pick, the Philadelphia 76ers will pick up Kevin Knox from Kentucky. And Knox, he has the size, and he can really get things done on the court.
All right. And again, I also want to mention we've seen 2 Duke players come off the board. Mm-hmm. We're also going to see quite a few Villanova, of course, national champions come off, as well as Kentucky, which obviously is no surprise. There's always a bunch of Kentucky Wildcats that get drafted. Yeah. Now, I've been lucky enough to get the 11th overall pick, which is the Charlotte Hornets spot. We've got them taking point guard out of Alabama, Colin Sexton. So this guy's considered to be a hard-nosed, physical athlete. We talked about him in the past before about how he basically carried Alabama in the first round of the tournament when they beat Virginia Tech. We also talked about how he was more likely going to be a one-and-done player, and that's what we're seeing. We've got him going to the Hornets, which, by the way, just real quick, what do you think this would be? Would this be a good pick for the Hornets?
I believe it will be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you think so? Too?
Somebody can learn under Kemba Walker and get some things going for himself.
Absolutely. All right, moving on, Jeremy.
All right, with the 2018 NBA draft, the 12th overall pick, the Los Angeles Clippers select point guard from Kentucky, Gillius. If he falls to the Clippers, they do backflips.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna for the number 13 pick. I've also got the Los Angeles Clippers here. Miles Bridges, who they're going to take from Michigan State. He's a player. He's able to play multiple positions, and it's certainly what the Clippers need.
Yeah, and I think this is an opportunity, if the Clippers go this way, to get back-to-back picks high in the draft, or what we could also see is maybe trade one of these away and try to get some more picks later on, and maybe get a superstar to come to L.A. Moving on, we've got the Denver Nuggets at number 14. I've got them taking Robert Williams, the power forward / center from Texas A&M. Now, this is a kid that needs to improve on his offense, but as a big man, as a rim protector, get a lot of rebounds for them.
All right, with the 2018 NBA draft, the 15th overall pick, the Washington Wizards will select Zaire Smith, point guard out of Texas Tech, an athletic, explosive floor leader who could come in and pretty much can take off some pressure off of John Wall and Bradley Beal.
Absolutely. All right.
Number 16 pick went to Arizona. The Phoenix Suns are going to take Lonnie Walker from Miami. He's a clutch shooter in college, and he can score a lot down in the lanes.
Yeah, and again, this is the second pick for the Suns. I don't know if they'll keep that pick in the long run. Again, just like we did in the NFL draft, a lot of these may end up being traded. So, of course, we're doing this as assuming that no one gets traded. But again, we could see a scenario just like the Clippers where maybe the Suns trade this to move up or maybe package some players together. We'll have to wait and see. But with the 17th overall pick, the Milwaukee Bucks will be taking Mitchell Robinson, the center. Now, we've got him down as being from the USA. Now, basically what this is, instead of going to college, he basically stayed in the States and worked on his game here at, I think it was one of those academies down in Florida, which I'm curious to see if maybe some of these other players start doing this to stay away from the one-and-done thing. However, this guy does need a little bit of work after sitting out from college, but this is actually the kind of pick that the Bucks take. Hope that he can develop, and I compare him to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Just in the fact of they took a flyer on him, didn't know exactly what they were getting. They did the same thing with Thon Maker last year. This is exactly what the Bucks do. They get some of these not well-known players and hope they develop.
With the 2018 NBA draft, with the 18th overall pick, the San Antonio Spurs will go after Dante DiVincenzo, shooting guard for the national champions Villanova, a guy who could come in and could play multiple guard position and improve his draft stock. Somebody could come in and learn from under the two greatest Spurs players in history, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker.
Yeah, and if you guys remember in the national championship, DiVincenzo was the guy that carried them off the bench, scored 31 points. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to carry that momentum into the NBA. All right, Russell, moving on.
With the 19th pick in the 2018 draft, the Atlanta Hawks are going to take another Duke player, Gary Trent Jr. The Hawks just need, they just need more talent. That's flat out.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they have the third overall pick. That's why they're coming back in at 19. They just need some bodies that can play some basketball. Coming in at number 20, overall, the Minnesota Timberwolves will be taking Troy Brown, the guard/forward from the University of Oregon. Now, this kid has the size and ability to play all over the court, which it'll be interesting to see what holes Minnesota needs to fill with Jimmy Butler's got a big contract coming up. Of course, you've got Karl Anthony Towns, a big man down low. So I think right now Troy Brown would be a great fit for the T-Wolves.
With the 2018 NBA draft, with the 21st overall pick, the Utah Jazz will go after Boston College shooting guard Jerome Robinson, a guy who can pretty much have a shooting stroke that he led in his junior season and pretty much took his team to where he needed to go.
Yeah, and I think he'll pair up very well in Utah. They lost Gordon Hayward, but then what was the guy that stepped up for them this year? I can't remember his name now.
Trey Burke.
No, not Burke. And I hate to do this, but there was a kid that I can't remember his name now. They when they lost Hayward to Boston, Donovan Mitchell. That's what I was trying to think of. Who, in my opinion, very well could have won the Rookie of the Year. But I think he's going to pair up very well with him. So, all right.
The number 22nd overall pick in the 2018 draft, the Chicago Bulls. They're going to take Chandler Hutchison from Boise State. He's a versatile player, and his shooting ability is going to definitely be a plus for that team.
And Chicago's another one of those teams like Atlanta that just needs some players on their team. With the 23rd overall pick, the Indiana Pacers will be taking Eli Okubo, who is a point guard from France. He's worked out for the Pacers specifically this week to show how much he's improved. So this may be a scenario where the Pacers have already said, if you're there, we're going to take you. So this may actually be one of the safest picks that we have in the draft.
With the 2018 NBA draft, with the 24th overall pick, the Portland Trail Blazers go after UCLA Bruins point guard Aaron Holiday. He pretty much displayed a nice round game for the Bruins in his career. A guy who could come in and pair up with Damian Lillard.
Yep.
The number 25th pick in the overall 2018 draft, the Los Angeles Lakers are going to take Kevin Huerter from Maryland. You know, he can knock down 3 points all day.
Yeah, and we're going to get into this in the next segment, but it'll be interesting to see whether he fits in with a Laker team that next year perhaps has LeBron on it, perhaps has Kawhi Leonard. We have to wait and see on that. But if they are able to lure some of these big-time guys in there, they'll definitely need a three-point shooter to come in like Huerter. With the 26th overall pick, we've got the 76ers taking Kyrie Thomas, a shooting guard out of Creighton. He can score in a variety of ways, including in the lane. Again, we mentioned this before, a guy that can drive, put the ball on the floor, and get points down low among all the big men.
With the 2018 NBA draft, with the 27th overall pick, the Boston Celtics drafts point guard out of Wichita State, Landry Shamet. Pretty much ain't going to play so much this season due to Kyrie Irving, and then you got Aaron Gordon, and then you got the two guys, Terry Rosen, all of them stepped up last year, almost made the NBA Finals, so he pretty much going to be a development player.
Exactly, and Boston's in the position where they can do that because their team's going to be so stacked next year.
The 28th overall pick will be Golden State Warriors, which I'm not sure why they're even on here with the team that they have right now. But they're going to take Jalen Brunson from Villanova, which I guess, if you're going to be a champion, you're going to take from a champion team.
That's right.
So, it's a stated clutch performer, and certainly, obviously, got that national championship ring.
Absolutely, yeah. Champion to a champion, and a kid that played all 4 years at Nova will fit in very well there and can learn from
Steph
best team
Curry
on
and
the
Klay
planet.
Thompson.
With the 29th overall pick, we've got the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, this should be the Cavaliers here, but of course, as I mentioned earlier, they made that trade with Brooklyn, but they're coming in at number 29. I've got them taking the small forward / power forward out of Ohio State, Keita Bates-Diop. Well finished around the basket. I got to see this guy play a little bit this year. He's kind of a big guy, 6'6", 6'7", but I don't want to compare him to LeBron, but in the mold of LeBron, where he can kind of do it all, put the ball on the floor, also can shoot three-pointers, kind of do it all.
And the final pick of the 2018 NBA pick, the Atlanta Hawks will go after the national Omar Spellman, power forward, center out of the national championship champions Villanova. A big guy, pretty much have enough skill to get playing time. He'll be another developmental player, and like I said, Atlanta needs some talent to get around if they want to make a push for the playoffs in the near future.
Absolutely. Again, the Hawks need all the players they can get. And just to recap here, as we mentioned at the beginning, we've seen quite a few Duke players. We've seen quite a few Villanova players. And, of course, some Kentucky Wildcats come off the board as well. So, with all that being said, the NBA draft will be later on tonight at 7 p.m. So once we get done here, click on over to ESPN and see how many of these we actually got right.
How many do you think we got right?
Just because of trades and whatnot, I'm going to say probably one or two. And, after we looked at the NFL draft, we only had one right in that. But, let's face it, even the experts on ESPN and Fox Sports, it's very difficult to predict these sort of things. So,
that stuff can change at the snap
at the drop of a hat, absolutely. And it very well may, considering, you've got guys on the move. You've got backroom deals that are getting made behind the cameras, behind the scenes. So, again, it'll be interesting to see what happens after the 2018 NBA draft happens tonight. But we're done with the draft, but that doesn't mean we're done with NBA talk. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to discuss the upcoming NBA free agency season. A bunch of guys could possibly be on the move. Where are they going to end up? All that and more when we come back from the RO Sports Show.
At Richmond Community College, we can prepare you for a high-skill, high-paying career in a variety of fields. From business to education, engineering, utilities, healthcare, criminal justice, information technology, and human services. At Richmond Community College, we can save you thousands of dollars on tuition through our university transfer programs that provide a seamless transition to universities and colleges throughout North Carolina. At Richmond Community College, we are always developing new courses and programs in response to the communities we serve. We offer day, evening, and online courses, and you can now complete 5 curriculum programs entirely online. At Richmond Community College, we believe in helping you prepare for a better life. Richmond Community College. Local college, big impact.
Exit Realty Platinum in Rockingham has listed one of the most beautiful homes in Richmond County. Located in Rockingham on Ledbetter Lake, the home features 4 bedrooms with bamboo floors and a kitchen featuring stainless steel appliances and granite countertops, and a master bedroom that overlooks Ledbetter Lake, along with a spacious tile shower and the attached master bathroom. The open living space leads to the back deck with a perfect view of Ledbetter Lake, and the property features its own boat dock. Want to see this beautiful home? Call Nicole Hayden with Exit Realty Platinum, your source for homes in Richmond and Moore counties.
My name is Jim Leach, and we have been using the Tim Hayden Construction Company for the last several years.
My name is Dave Owens and my wife Beth. We had some damage here at our place in Knollwood Village.
January 2nd, our house flooded upstairs coming through to the first floor.
Tim has responded very quickly with his team of people.
Our repairs went extremely well.
Tim made a very difficult situation much easier for us.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And as I mentioned before the break, guys, just because we're done talking about the NBA draft does not mean we're done talking about the NBA. Of course, the offseason is fastly approaching. We can pretty much say we're already into it, and there is going to be plenty to talk about.
A lot sooner than usual considering the sweep in the finals.
It is. You're absolutely
Yes.
right, which I'm sure those in Cleveland would rather forget about that quickly. And we're gonna talk about Cleveland here in just a minute. But first of all, let's start with talking about your man, Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
Now, of course, there's been a little bit of a rift between he and the San Antonio Spurs, to the point where everybody's been wondering, is he going to come back? Even though he's not a free agent, he does have an opportunity to perhaps ask out and be traded, which we know now that he's done that. Says he wants to go to the LA Lakers. So let's start right there. First off, do you think Kawhi ends up in LA?
I see a scenario it could happen, and even if he stays in San Antonio, which he is qualified to sign the max deal of a 6-year, $219 million contract, which that's probably the largest contract in NBA history for any player. But I see it because of the way they handle his health issues and the front office handle this situation. I think it's time for Kawhi Leonard, while he in his prime, need to go to a new scenario where he can compete for more championships.
So you think that the clock is ticking down on San Antonio?
Yeah,
right now?
I think his days are numbered being at San Antonio Spurs, even though I'm a diehard fan of it.
Right.
But I'd rather see you go somewhere and flourish than rather be a distraction to us.
Okay. Russell, let me ask you this. It was reported yesterday that Greg Popovich, of course, the San Antonio Spurs coach, was going to be heading out to California to meet specifically with Kawhi to maybe gauge his interest, see if he might want to stick with the team. Do you think this is a good idea? Because Pop does carry a lot of weight in the NBA.
I feel like maybe he could still do something there in San Antonio. So I was like, I really feel like he could. So I would say keep him there.
So you see a scenario where Pop goes out there and says, here's why you should stay. We still got another championship run left in us. And you think Kawhi listens to that?
I think so. I mean, you have to trust your coach, I think.
Sure, and I mean, again, it doesn't get any bigger in coaching circles than Greg Popovich. He's like the Nick Saban or the Belichick of the NBA. So now, of course, talking about the Lakers, they seem to be in the mouths of a lot of free agents coming up this summer. Paul George is another one of those guys that we could potentially see end up in L.A. Let me ask you this. L.A. or stay in OKC? Which one happens first?
Go to L.A.
Okay, what do you think, Russell?
I would say LA. I think they're the hot team right now where everybody's all of this stuff going on about them, these rumors about all the big players coming to them. I would stay there. I think being underneath that, becoming a future champion within 5 years, I think that could very well
Sure,
be.
and you've got the Showtime Lakers and all that. But Jeremy, let me ask you this: would you rather go to LA and have to start over with a young team that's got, Lonzo Ball or whoever it may be, or would you rather stay in OKC with an established superstar like Russell Westbrook?
Well, if it was me in Paul George's shoes, I would pretty much stay in OKC, pair up with Russell Westbrook, and you can build something there. Because at the end of the day, like, you go to LA and rebuild, but at the same time, you want to put on a lot of mileage on yourself while you're in the prime of your career, and then what's going to benefit you? Nothing.
Yeah, and here might be the deterrent to staying in OKC. Russell Westbrook's contract is worth like $206 million.
Yeah.
I doubt Paul George is going to get that kind of money,
No.
but he's definitely going to get a large contract. At that point, you're paying two guys on your roster like $50 million for one season between the two of them. That doesn't give you a lot of options to fill out the rest of the team, does it?
No, because you got to look at, you got to fill the rest of your team, and then you got to want guys who probably want to come to OKC and play for them, trying to compete for a championship. So you got to look at it from a scenario. You got your rookies coming in from the draft, and then also you have guys who's already established veterans who probably not gonna get a big max contract like you got LeBron's or CP3 or James Harden's. You got to look at a scenario where, hey, I want to go to a team where I know I can compete for a championship, not just because, hey, I'm getting all this money.
Okay. Now, Russell, let me ask you this. Of course, Kevin Durant with the Warriors just won back-to-back Finals MVPs. Of course, he used to play for the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was announced that the owner of the Warriors basically said, whatever KD wants, we're going to give to him. Let me ask you this. Do you think we'll ever see a day where KD heads back to OKC?
I think you can never say never on that. I mean, anything can happen between now and whenever he retires, or he might want to come back. So I would say that, yes, I think it's possible for him to actually leave.
Sure, it's possible when he gets, older, but do you think it's possible within the next 4 or 5 years?
I think it really is going to depend on who's around him, because kind of like the LeBron situation,
Yeah.
if there's nobody around you, you're not going to want to stay there. So
True.
I think if he has nobody there, he's going to leave.
Now, speaking of LeBron, it's a good segue because, we've talked about LeBron till we're blue in the face for the last 2 months, it feels like. So we're going to continue that till we're red in the face. With the LeBron speculation, of course, it would be interesting to find out where he ends up. There's several cities and locations that have been thrown out there. Of course, we've all made our predictions where you think he'll end up. Instead of him leaving, because that's all it seems like we've talked about, instead of him leaving, is there a scenario, Jeremy, where the Cavs could build a super team around LeBron in Cleveland?
I believe it can happen, but at the end of the day, when free agency starts and then you got to look at all these contracts like LeBron, you already got your established player. You might want to bring in a Paul George. You might want to bring in a guy like probably a Paul George, or probably bring a Kawhi Leonard to Cleveland.
Sure.
At the end of the day, but see, you got contracts need to be swiped out the door. Like J.R. Smith needs to be gone,
Yeah.
Kevin Love needs to be gone, Larry Nance, and then other guys who pretty much needs to be done. I can see a scenario where Kemba Walker could get traded before the trade deadline out of Charlotte, where you could do a trade for maybe for a first round pick and cash considerations.
And there's a lot of math that will have to be worked out, and there are many people that are better at that than me. Now, you mentioned Kemba Walker potentially being traded, and we're definitely going to get into that here in just a minute. But what do you think, Russell? Because I know in the beginning you said that you thought initially LeBron would stay in Cleveland. Now, I know you've changed your mind on that since then, but if they pick up a Paul George or a Kawhi Leonard, do you think that entices LeBron enough to stay?
If it's one player, I don't think it's going to be enough for him, no matter who it is. Really.
Even if it's staying in the East?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's kind of frustrated right now with Cleveland. He really just wants to go somewhere where he can be successful, and not having to hurt himself to actually play good. I mean, so I see him not really staying, no matter who they bring. And besides that, I don't think Cleveland can really. They might have a lot of money, but I don't think they can really afford to bring in more better players with probably what they're paying LeBron. I can see LeBron taking the smaller, maybe a little pay cut to go somewhere else.
Sure. I mean, he doesn't need the money like some of these other guys do.
Rather than taking it in Cleveland where he has pushed them to the limit and then say, oh, so you want to cut my pay, this is what I'm going to get. So I can see him leaving still in that scenario.
So I mentioned earlier that we've already made predictions several times on this. Cleveland is LeBron's home. He's played in Miami before. He has a home in L.A. So for one more time, Russell, where's LeBron next year?
I see him in L.A.
For the Lakers? Okay.
I see him in the Lakers uniform.
All right, 2 Lakers. Well, guess what? I'm going to stick to the pick I've had since the beginning. I still got him going to Philly, so we'll have to. Why not at this point? I mean, I've said it once. I'll say it 1,000 times. Pair him up with Ben Simmons. Pair him up with Joel Embiid. He doesn't have to be the man there. He can let 2 of the younger guys take over. Of course, LeBron will automatically make them better. Will, except for maybe Boston, will automatically make them the favorite in the East. I don't see a downside to it. Do you?
No, because even if he does go to Philadelphia, it increases the attendance. People will start coming to games, and even during free agency period, you might get not only land LeBron, but you might land somebody else who could come in and pretty much want to play. And then you already got J.J. Redick now leading the bench.
Absolutely, and I stole your copy here because in addition to that, the Sixers have the 10th overall pick and the 26th overall pick. So if they're able to pick up LeBron, maybe you can trade these 2 picks for another superstar, or maybe you get 2 chances at picking up a lottery pick that could be a superstar. So I think if he goes to Philly, the future's bright. What do you think about Philly?
I think that wouldn't be a bad choice. I mean, he could certainly make something there rather than what he's doing in Cleveland right now. I think, honestly, anything at this point will be better than Cleveland. I know they went all the way to the finals, but still, I really think that he could have a better team somewhere else.
Though.
Even if he going to Philly, he'll be the biggest superstars coming in since Allen Iverson.
Yeah. Now, you guys both picked L.A. Lakers. In a couple words, why?
Because, well, to be honest with you, Matt, I see a scenario where you got a house in L.A., and I think this is where if he wants to signify his legacy as an NBA player, which you really got nothing to prove. Really, you have nothing to prove. No way, because you're already our first ballot Hall of Famer. I think what the scenario is, I think they, the guys like the past Laker greats like Kobe, Shaq, and Kareem, Magic, Wilt Chamberlain. I think they want to push him where, hey, if you come to L.A., we'll take care of you. You give us about 2 or 3 years to play at your top of your level of your game. Give us a couple more championships. We might see you could get a statue at the Staples Center.
All right. What do you think?
I could definitely see a statue happening. I really think it's a lot to do with just also with the money as well, in addition to kind of what Jeremy has said. So I really see that also if he goes over there, I think we'll see two completely different teams in the finals each year if LeBron goes to L.A. It won't be the Warriors. It won't be the Cavaliers. It probably won't be the Heat or San Antonio. I think we'll see a lot of different teams that are being in the finals.
Yeah, and I think one of those teams that we would see from the East would be the Celtics, which is a perfect way to segue into the next guy we're going to talk about, which is Kyrie Irving. Of course, with the Boston Celtics, he got hurt before the playoffs. It seemed like the Celtics really didn't miss him a whole lot. Of course, he did help them get 60 wins during the regular season. Gordon Hayward was out for the whole year. They'll be getting him back as well. We saw Jason Tatum, the rookie, step up in the playoffs. We saw Terry Rozier step up. All that being said, is there a chance Kyrie could be on the move?
I don't think so. I think this is going to be another scenario where, hey, they give him another chance to prove himself since he already led him to a 60-win season. But this is going to be like this. You get hurt again, I think we're pretty much going to put you on the move and let these young guys take over your spot and let them lead. Because it's already proven that in your absence, Terry Rozier and Tatum already took you almost went to the NBA Finals.
Let me throw a scenario at you, Russell. We've already been established that the Celtics made an offer for Kawhi Leonard, and the Spurs turned it down. What if the Celtics offer Kyrie Irving for Kawhi Leonard straight up? If you're the Celtics or the Spurs, do you make that move? You're basically trading superstar for superstar.
I would say that might happen. Yeah, I would go with that.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that would be a big-time superstar swap. But it's not unprecedented. We've seen stuff like this happen before.
Oh, yeah.
Now, getting back to the Carolinas. Now, you mentioned, is there a chance we could see Kemba Walker on the move? There is, and I'll precursor it with this. Just yesterday, the Hornets announced that they're trading Dwight Howard to the Brooklyn Nets for Timothy Mozgov and 2 future second-round picks. Now, what this does for the Nets is it saves them $17 million in the 2019-2020 season, which will allow them to create 2 max salary slots. So basically, by that point, Brooklyn would be able to bring on 2 max players of their own in just a couple of years. Now, I've said this several times before now. It was time for the Hornets to tear it down to the studs, trade Dwight, trade Kemba. It seems like they've done half of that. Where do you think this is heading?
I think it's going to be where the Charlotte Hornets is going to be in rebuilding mode for the next 2 to 5 years. And even with the Dwight Howard's gone, more likely Kemba's going to be on the move, being traded. I think it's going to be a scenario where, hey, you have to build your team through the NBA draft.
I think it's time to start doing that
It's
too.
starting
What do you think, Russell?
I mean, I think they're going to do this. They're going to do that, but I disagree with it. I think you already got some good players in your team. Why are you getting rid of them? You can build up a team around them. I really think Kemba's a good player, so I'd like to keep him around and help use him to coach the other guys that are coming in a sense. Be that kind of a leader.
There's no denying that Kemba is a great player, and Dwight Howard really resurrected his career in Charlotte this year.
Yeah.
I just think that if you go ahead and make this move and trade Dwight, the next step I would think has to be to get rid of Kemba, because to me this is a sign of, I don't want to say giving up, but it's a sign of we're getting ready to start a rebuild, right?
Yeah, because Kemba's, and you take Kemba. Kemba he went to back-to-back All-Star games, and he's pretty much perimeter one of the top 5 point guards in the NBA right now.
Who's kind of wasting away in Charlotte. No offense to Charlotte, but
and I think the scenario is you're in the prime of your career, and I can see you could compete for multiple championships, and you pretty much can compete for being more All-Star appearances.
Yeah,
I can see a scenario where, hey, if you want to stay in the East, you could go to compare it with LeBron in Cleveland, or you could go to Philly and Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, or can go somewhere.
And I mean,
or Indiana Pacers somewhere.
If you're the Hornets, Kemba's going to be a free agent in a couple years. At least trade him now where you can get something back, as opposed to losing him in free agency and having nothing to show for it. Now, as we do every week, we put up the RO Sports Show poll on our Facebook page. Of course, you can find that on Facebook. The RO Sports Show has its own specific one, so find it, like it, share it with your friends. So this week we asked, should the Charlotte Hornets trade Kemba and start a rebuild, or should they hang on to him for another year and try to make the playoffs next year? The votes were tallied, and it came up as 58% said that they should keep Kemba, 42% saying they should start a rebuild. Of course, you can see that graphic on the screen. So real quick, guys, what do you think about this?
Keep Kemba.
I would say right now keep Kemba for another year and see how this going to go. If it don't work out in the Hornets' favor, I'd say you trade him.
Yeah, I think so too, because I think he's got 2 years left.
Yes.
If it doesn't work this year, start over. However, though, real quick, I mean, because they traded Dwight, doesn't that hurt Kemba's chances at getting to the playoffs?
And I think it really does, because Charlotte they was real competitive in a lot of games last season where they could make over the hump. So
yeah, to me, it's kind of taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Again, it's one of those things where we have to wait and see, as we say a lot of times. Hopefully, Kemba will stay here, but again, I'd like to see him, just being a Hornets fan, go somewhere where he can win a championship in his future. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking the U.S. Open recap up in Shinnecock Hills and the Hamptons. We're going to take a look at college football in Oklahoma, their upcoming schedule as we move forward closer to the upcoming college football season. And we're also going to take a look at the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view. All that and more when we come right back.
McNair Auto Sales is the place to buy your pre-owned car, truck, or van. To be the best, it takes big selection, friendly staff, and great pricing. We guarantee a no-hassle buying experience, and financing is available right on site. So come see us today. We're located at 1026 East Broad Avenue in Rockingham. And remember, with over 40 years of experience, you know McNair is the name you can trust.
Family Pharmacy is a local pharmacy that's been in business in Rockingham for over 10 years. Located in the Food Lion Shopping Center on US 1 North, we have easy access into the store and a drive-thru for your convenience as well. You can download the official Family Pharmacy app at myfamilypharmacy.com, and we'll help you set it up to text you when your prescription is ready, and you can even set it up to fill your prescriptions when due. Our motto is we'll treat you like family, and it's something we truly mean. We take the same care in filling your prescription that we would take for our own family. Family Pharmacy, we'll treat you like family.
Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts is all about rustic home decor and gifts. You will always find a variety of unique antiques, vintage, and new items in our shop. Come and see our selection of housewarming, new baby, and wedding gifts. For the man in your life, we have many collectibles, Boker knives, and leather. And ladies love the jewelry, purses, candles, hats, and t-shirts. We also offer a 30-day layaway program. Come and experience shopping at Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts.
Hello, I'm Tammy Benson, and this is
Nancy Bowling.
And we're here to tell you about the wonderful service at hospice and what they have to bring, from the nursing services to the medical director to in-home aides to a chaplain to bereavement to everything you can imagine. They were there to take care of it. I cannot think of how the experience with hospice could have been any better professionally, spiritually.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, as always, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And we've got a few different topics to start with tonight. We're going to begin with some college football previews here. Starting tonight and over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be previewing this week Oklahoma Sooners, who of course were 4th in last year's college football playoff. Next week, we're going to take a look at the Georgia Bulldogs, who were in 3rd. Maybe you can see where this is going. The week after that, we're going to take a look at the Clemson Tigers. And then finally, the week before the season starts, we're going to take a look at the Crimson Tide.
Roll Tide.
Yes. Now, with that being said, let's jump into Oklahoma's 2018 schedule. You can see that on the screen, what it's going to look like for the Sooners this year. Now, I want to ask you guys, taking a look at the schedule, does any one game stick out to you?
Definitely Oklahoma State and Oklahoma facing off each other. Of course, that's the interstate rivalry.
Sure.
Always going to be a big game between them two.
What do you think, Jeremy? Anything stick out?
I think the last game of the season was Oklahoma versus West Virginia. I think this is going to be a knockout blowout, and this is going to be a battle where it's going to be come down to 3 or less points.
Yeah, West Virginia is going to be a tough team this year. Will Greer is their quarterback who transferred over from Florida, which West Virginia hasn't had a really good quarterback like him in a while.
Since Geno Smith.
The game that sticks out to me the most is the Red River rivalry, which is one of those where you can throw the records out the window. Of course, I'm talking about Oklahoma playing Texas on October 6th. So I think I've got Oklahoma winning it, but I think that's one that could go either way and usually does. Now, with all that being said, Russell, let's start with you. I want to get a prediction for you. We've got 12 games on the schedule. How do you think the Sooners end up?
Well, first of all, I think they actually kind of have a weak schedule in terms of, they only got 4 away games out of 12. That's pretty insane.
That's true.
For a team who made it to the championship, they should have more away games. I think it's more split on it. But anyways, I got them finishing out a regular season at 9-3. They'll lose to Oklahoma State, TCU, and I'm pretty sure West Virginia will be singing some John Denver when they beat them.
All right, what about you, Jeremy? How you got them finishing?
I got Oklahoma Sooners finishing the season 10-2 because I think I'm going to say the battle of the Oklahomas between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. I think this is going to be a scenario where it's knockout blowout. I think Oklahoma State will pull it off, even with Texas.
All right, I've got them also going 10-2. I've got their 2 losses coming at TCU and coming at West Virginia, just because they're going to be on the road at both of those places. Let's not forget, Oklahoma's going to be without Baker Mayfield this year.
Yes.
Now, obviously, Lincoln Riley, their head coach, has put together a very prolific offense in Norman, but Kyler Murray's coming in to replace him, and those are some really big shoes to fill. Can he do it? Yes, he probably can, especially in this system. But I don't think Oklahoma's going to run over people and put up as many points this year as they have in the past. Let me throw another game out there that I find very interesting is the first game of the season for Oklahoma against Florida Atlantic, which, of course, is Lane Kiffin's school. Do you think FAU is able to give them any trouble?
Well, I think according to ESPN, they have like a 98% chance of beating FAU, but I still think that FAU...
I think that's too high.
Yeah, I think FAU can give them a run for their money. Lane Kiffin's put a solid program together down there in Florida. I think he can get it. At least a very close game. I think it'll be within 10 points.
Yes. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think it's going to be, agreeing with Russell was saying, I think this is going to be a very close game because I think Lane Kiffin is going to be pretty one of those games where Lane Kiffin is going to throw out most of his offensive minds everywhere he much can. But I see where it's going to give give Oklahoma a run for their money.
Yeah, I definitely can see, especially with it being the first game of the year, Oklahoma might not necessarily know what to expect. Like you said, Lane Kiffin's
going to figure things out.
He's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at them and see how much of it they can pick up. I'm also noticing, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but Oklahoma has 3 non-conference games here. FAU's one of them, UCLA is the other, and then Army. All 3 are at home, but that's a relatively difficult non-conference schedule, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, even the Army could give them a run for their money. Army's actually a pretty solid team after last year. They had a really solid one. Yeah, UCLA, I don't really see them as a bigger threat, but they could still be in the hunt to win it.
Sure, and I mean UCLA is a Power 5 school out of the Pac-12.
Is Jack Del Rio's the head coach? UCLA.
I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Of course, they are losing. They did lose Josh
Just
Rosen, the
yeah.
quarterback who went to the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not sure who's taking over under center for the Bruins, but that's still, you know who their coach is? It's Chip Kelly.
Yeah. Yep.
That's who took over there.
Oh God!
So
okay, yeah.
that might not be a pushover either, because
No.
Chip Kelly is another offensive-minded coach. That again, I mean, you got to go Lane Kiffin, Chip Kelly back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of different offensive schemes. So I don't think it's going to be all rainbows and unicorns for the Sooners to start out the season. So just to recap, Russell, you got them going 9-3. Jeremy and myself have them going 10-2. Last question for you. Start with you, Russell. Do they make it back to the CFP this year?
Absolutely not.
Okay, what do you think?
No.
I don't think so either. I think we're going to see some other team, perhaps TCU. We'll have to wait and see as far as the Big 12. But I think this year is going to be a step back for the Sooners.
Yes.
Now, moving on, we're going to go from the grass of the football field to the grass of the golf course, talking about the U.S. Open. The big boys were at Shinnecock Hills, which is up in the Hamptons of New York. Brooks Koepka won it for the second straight year, won the U.S. Open for the second straight year, shot a 1-over. Just goes to show you how tough the course is.
That is pretty insane because, of course, usually you see these guys knocking them down every single hole. But 1-over, that's pretty intense to see that the top guy could not even finish.
Couldn't even
on
get under par. Yeah, and I know watching a little bit of it, there was a lot of wind. There was some really crappy weather. It was stormy the whole time. Matter of fact, there were some of the guys that were complaining that the greens were too fast. Being PGA guys, do you think that's a legit argument? Should they be out there complaining about the greens too fast?
I think no.
I mean,
they need they're supposed to be better than us. They have to be able to withstand these conditions and go out there and put on the best show they can.
And you understand, coming in, this is going to be the best and the hardest challenge that they can give you. I mean, you look at Pinehurst. When the guys go to Pinehurst, they make the greens as slick as they can. They try to narrow the fairways by putting bunkers in specific places. They move the tee boxes back as far as they can. I mean, these guys have to understand coming in. You can't even
stand on Pinehurst greens.
Yeah, you have to understand coming in, you're going to get the toughest challenge possible. Now, I want to ask you this, Russell. Dustin Johnson was the favorite coming in. He actually had won the tournament before this, led for the first 2 or 3 days, didn't win. What happened?
Well, that's kind of shocking considering he's like one of the top guys right now. I actually think he is the top guy right now. But certainly he just, I don't know. I guess there's one of them bad luck days in golf. It can be a game of good luck and you have luck's involved in it a lot of times. And I think he just has some bad luck. Yeah,
I mean, just like regular players, luck and skill is involved with the PGA guys. Of course, they have a little more skill than luck, than like myself. But you're right. Dustin Johnson, I know he was leading at least the first 2 days, but this happens to players sometimes where they...
Rory McIlroy did it in the Masters.
Exactly, where you get in a funk and then, you go from top of the leaderboard one day to by the end of the day, you're in 5th place or whatever it may be. That's kind of what happened with him. I don't know if he moved up to number 1. I know if he would have won, he would have been number 1, I think is what would have happened. But anyway, I'm not quite sure how Tiger did. Do you have any idea how Tiger finished up?
I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure if he did really good, we're probably talking about right now.
Yeah, you're right. Which I'm pretty sure he did middle of the road. I know he made the cut. Another guy I want to bring up is the guy that I had picked to win, which was Phil Mickelson. Now, Phil absolutely blew up during this tournament. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a hole where he double or triple putted, and as the ball was moving, he went and hit it out of frustration, which of course is a penalty. So Phil, Dustin Johnson, these guys basically getting mad at the green. Again, I want to ask you: is the course too tough, or do these guys have a legit argument?
I mean, the course is really tough, and I think that's what PGA was going for when they picked this course. The U.S. Open, they don't want to make it easy. They want to make it difficult for these players to go out there and show who really is the best in the U.S. So, I can see why they picked Shinnecock Hills. Very difficult. I'm sure they were expecting bad weather to begin with, so I think no doubt they picked a good course for a challenge, and I'm sure it was a lot more intriguing to watch than a typical tournament you might see on
They did.
an average week.
And I would imagine this is not the last time we'll see Shinnecock Hills in a U.S. Open scenario. Of course, the next big major coming up is what we call here in the States the British Open. What they call over there just the Open. That's going to be in just about a month at Carnoustie Championship Golf Course in Angus, Scotland. So I know it's early. I'm not going to get a prediction from you, but I'm just going to throw out a blanket statement that I'll be very interested to see how the big guys like Tiger and Phil, DJ, who's your guy, Jordan Spieth, how all these guys will practice on some of these mid-tier courses coming up. So we will definitely keep track of that for you and let you know how the big boys do leading up to the British Open. Now, moving on. The WWE had their latest, greatest pay-per-view. This time it was the WWE Money in the Bank. So, what should we start with here? The actual briefcases?
Well, I would definitely say that. I think it's the biggest story for sure. I mean, Braun Strowman is now a monster in the bank.
Yes,
that's right. That's a good way.
Monster's an understatement. He's an incredible Hulk.
He comes in, wins it, and he's already targeting Brock Lesnar. I believe everyone in that Raw, he was just begging for Brock to show up, and he will cash in on pretty much what he was saying. So, of course, Alexa Bliss cashed in the same night. She won her title. She actually interjected herself into the match where Ronda Rousey was in for the Raw Women's title, and she cashed in on that one and won it, of course. I'm sure Ronda Rousey is not very happy with that.
Looking at the card here, I want to throw just kind of a recap for those watching and listening. The Bludgeon Brothers defeated Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson to retain the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Here's one that I found interesting was Daniel Bryan defeated Big Cass via submission. And then yesterday, I find out on Bleacher Report that WWE has cut Big Cass.
What?
Is this a surprise to you?
I think it is because his future was bright.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Russell? Wasn't he supposed to be like the next greatest thing?
I'm kind of not surprised considering the fact that Big Cass to me has not really been there without Enzo Amore. Those two kind of go together, and if one of them's gone, the other one's probably not going to last much longer. If Cass left and Enzo was still there, I say it would be the same scenario. So I'm kind of not surprised by that.
Do you think we will see Enzo and Big Cass teaming up somewhere else, another
they
place?
could join up on the indie scene again, and or
we could see him on Impact or somewhere.
TNA somewhere.
Moving on, because we're running out of time here, but Bobby Lashley defeated Sami Zayn via pinfall. Bobby Lashley's back now. How's he doing?
I think he's doing pretty good. Unfortunately, they're not using his old theme.
Right.
But, I think it's pretty cool to see him back in. Hopefully we'll have him and Brock Lesnar fight against everyone.
I would absolutely love to see that. For the Intercontinental Championship, Seth Rollins, who was the champ, came in, defeated Elias, which is via pinfall. Elias seems like a guy that's on the up and up, does he not?
I believe Seth Rollins actually dropped that title Monday night.
Yeah, he beat.
Did he?
Yeah, he lost to Dolph Ziggler.
Okay, so Ziggler's your IC champ now.
And this is going to be an opportunity for Dolph Ziggler to get back on top because Dolph Ziggler has not really been used in the past.
No, he hasn't.
Year, and I think by him winning this Intercontinental will give more motivation. And I think this is where the front office can look, and the talent, they can look at him as. Can use him more where he can get lined up for a world championship or a universal championship because I pitched to him even though he's a former world champion, but I looked at him as the next Shawn Michaels.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't last time Dolph had a belt, he basically just sat it down in the ring and left, didn't he?
That's what he did with the U.S. title, which I still am waiting to see if he'll ever have a rematch clause on that.
Yeah.
He still haven't asked for it, but. Of course, Seth Rollins dropping, I think it's going to put him into the Extreme Rules match that they're going to have.
Yeah, they're going to have
qualifying for Brock Lesnar, I believe, at SummerSlam.
So you see Seth Rollins moving up and going for the big boy title?
Not quite. I don't think he'll win it. I think they're going to put him in that match.
But going after it now.
Yeah.
Of course, you mentioned Alexa Bliss winning the Women's Money in the Bank. Let's see. Roman Reigns defeated Jinder Mahal. It kind of seems like Roman's kind of taking a back seat lately, does it not?
Because I think he took he's turning heel, and I think every time he gets compete for a world championship, he gets screwed.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I think they did this with him last year, where they kind of just had him sitting back a little bit, and then build him back up all the way up to around Survivor Series, and then get him back in that title picture at WrestleMania. I think that's the same scenario we're going to see here again. I think they're kind of just doing that to try and get the heat off him because, of course, the majority of the fans that are in the arenas are not liking him.
Right.
And I think that's what it's really boiled down to.
Now, SmackDown Women's Championship, Carmella defeated Asuka. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about James Ellsworth.
James Ellsworth.
Ellsworth made an appearance again. So talk about that. But also, Asuka now has lost again. Is this a theme that we're going to see?
It very well could be. And personally, I'm glad they have allowed her to start losing some because I think that builds her up better. Because after this undefeated streak, it has been so boring. Or before they broke the streak, she was boring to watch. She got old to watch because it was, you know what's going to happen. I'm so glad they finally broke it. Because now she's actually an interesting character again for a lot of people. But, you know, I see her eventually getting a title. I think it's undoubtedly going to happen this year. Maybe they're saving for WrestleMania.
Now, the WWE Championship, not to leave that out, AJ Styles, your man, the phenomenal one, came in as champ, defeated Shinsuke Nakamura by beating the 10 count in a last man standing match. Now, Shinsuke actually picked this stipulation, did he not?
He did.
So, actually, AJ beat him at his own game, so
That's
to speak.
right.
And then, finally, I think we've got the last one, Raw Women's Championship, Ronda Rousey defeating Nia Jax. So, Rousey has the belt now?
No, Rousey does not.
What? Disqualification.
Alexa Bliss had cashed in and got the title.
Ah, there we go. The clarification. Yeah, and it says here that that's what happened. And, of course, like you said, the men's Money in the Bank, Braun Strowman winning that. So, how soon till Strowman's champ? Can't be too long, right?
I say SummerSlam.
I look at a scenario where Kurt Angle did made an announcement on Monday Night Raw that Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns will pretty much go at it, but there'll be other superstars as well. And whoever comes out on top will face Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. But I think it's going to be a scenario where whoever faced Brock will pretty much that's when Braun Strowman going to take the opportunity while Brock is down.
So the next pay-per-view is Extreme Rules.
Yes.
Is that when we're going to see Brock defend this title, you think?
No, I believe they're going to have that number one contenders match at Extreme Rules.
And then wait till SummerSlam?
And that's when Braun Strowman going to cash in while Brock is down.
So let me ask you this. By the time SummerSlam's over, who's champ?
Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman.
I agree. I think we can all agree on the Monster Among Men is going to be champ. So that's going to do it for this segment. When we come back, we're going to finish up the same way we always do with Love It or Hate It. We've got a ton of topics to talk about tonight. So when we come back, we're going to hit all that plus more with the RO Sports Show. Welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And it's time to end the show the same way we always do, with Love It or Hate It. And as I mentioned before the break, guys, we've got a ton of topics to discuss tonight. So let's start off first with Mexico fans called out for Alabama after they upset Germany at the 2018 World Cup. Russell, love it or hate it?
We want Bama.
Exactly.
I love it.
Love it.
Love it.
I'm going to say love it too, except why does everybody always call out Alabama?
Because they are the best. I mean,
we're the champs.
Who else in modern day history has a better record, a better dynasty than Alabama?
I know, you just don't hear Mexico calling out the Patriots or calling out, I don't even know who else it would be, the Warriors. You know, It's just always Alabama. But I love that one. Milwaukee Brewers rookie reliever Adrian Hauser vomited twice on the mound during a game, still finished the inning. Love it or hate it?
Yeah, I'm going to say love it. That's pretty funny.
Love it.
All right, again, y'all need to watch more baseball. But I'm going to love this too, just because that's a competitor to me. A guy that goes out there, throws up twice, and still finishes the inning.
I've seen some crazy videos on YouTube, like pets and animals and
squirrels
bees being out there.
Yeah, all kinds.
There's always crazy stuff.
You always see crazy stuff like that, especially in baseball, because there's no telling what's going to end up out there on the field. Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football. Of course, we know by now that he signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats up in the CFL, the Canadian Football League. He actually sat in the Tiger Cats' first game that they lost to the Calgary Stampeders on Saturday night. So Johnny Manziel sitting, love it or hate it.
I guess I'm going to say hate on this. I don't know why he's sitting. I mean, maybe he's upset about it, but I don't know.
All right.
I'm going to say hate it because at the end of the day, let me tell you something. This man is trying to rebuild his career. Why are you trying to send him on the bench for?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say hate it, but maybe he's sitting on the bench because the guy in front of him is better than him.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be as simple as that. But you would think if I'm Hamilton, you want to sell tickets. People came to see Johnny Manziel play,
That's right.
so you got to start it. And eventually they may get to that. Now, there are sources that say in the NBA draft tonight, the draft room will be only for collegians. So, of course, you know, they got the green room where all the kids sit. They get their name called. They go out there, put the hat on, shake Adam Silver's hand. But if you are, like, for instance, that kid that was playing, that played in USA, what was his name here? Let me pull it up real quick. Oh, Mitchell Robinson, who didn't go to a college, stayed in the USA. If it's him or if it's a kid from France or Slovenia, they're not going to be allowed in the draft room. Love it or hate it.
I'm going to say hate it because if that's that grand opportunity to wait on their name to be called to a team.
Yeah, I'm going to say hate it because, you know, if they have that anticipation of being in it, even the NBA has to know that they're going to undoubtedly be called out there. What are they going to do when they're not there? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say hate it because this is basically like segregating, you know, the local players from the foreign players.
Yeah, it's also going to discourage players from not wanting to come to the NBA from those other countries or from not being in college.
Now, sticking with the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal has been quoted as saying, LeBron is a legend. He doesn't need any more rings. Love it or hate it.
I'm going to say it's kind of in between. Cause I'm going to say love it because he's telling him right, but at the end of the day, I hate it because you saying this for what? Because he didn't win the NBA championship, but at the same time, like I said earlier, LeBron ain't got nothing to prove. He's already a legend in his own right.
Right.
I'm gonna say love it too. I think, I think that's what LeBron wants is to hear people say that he is great, he is the best. That I think that's what he wants to hear from people, not just anything about money. I think it's more about the glory and things that come with it. I think that's what he wants. So
I'm gonna say love it from Shaq's perspective because he is right. LeBron is already a legend. In that aspect, he doesn't need to go for any more rings, but let's face it, LeBron's going to try to get more rings.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Now, moving to baseball. The San Francisco Giants signed catcher and number 2 overall pick Joey Bart in the most recent MLB draft to a record $7 million deal. Love it or hate it.
How much?
$7 million. To be a minor leaguer.
I'm going to say hate it because the simple fact reason he's a high draft pick. You need at least pay him at least $10 or $12 million.
Oh, you think it should be more?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Love it or hate it.
I feel like I'm in the wrong business. I mean, I need to be a coach or something because man, I'm going to hate it because I think that's a lot of money for minor leagues.
I'm going to say hate it too. That's way too much money. Now, of course, this is going to keep going up and up, but this is a kid who, it's not like the NFL and the NBA where they go automatically to the big show. This kid's going to start in single A or double A maybe, making $7 million. I mean, it'll make being in the minors a lot easier. You won't have to stay in the crappy hotels and ride the bus. But still, $7 million, that's way too much for a minor leaguer. Now, moving on to college football, Texas Tech has got a verbal commitment from an almost 7-foot-tall offensive tackle. Love it or hate it?
I love it because this is a great opportunity for him to learn. This is a grand opportunity for him to do his 4-year, get a degree, and succeed in the NFL. But, not knowing there was a guy back in the day. He was 6'9", played for the Baltimore Ravens, and offensive tackle Jonathan Ogan, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
One of the best in the business.
There's still a difference between 6'9" and 7 foot, though.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. What do you think, though? Love it or hate it?
From the Texas Tech perspective, I'm going to say hate it because why would you want that tall of a guy playing offense? Yeah, if you got a short quarterback that's going to throw over 7 feet, that's not going to be too good.
I agree. I would say hate it too because that's too tall. Because you either have to throw over him or step to right or left and throw around him. Go play basketball, guy.
Well, I would actually put him on defense. I think
or
that would be very good.
No, because you put him on defense, they're going to be so scared to throw the ball.
I mean, he can bat it down every time.
Or he can get more picks.
Now, we were talking about Dustin Johnson earlier. He is now the early favorite to win the Open at Carnoustie Championship Golf Club in Angus, Scotland. So DJ is the favorite moving forward. Love it or hate it?
Love it.
All right.
I'm gonna say love it.
I'm going to say love it too just because he's number one. So who else you going to pick? Now, going back to the NBA. The NBA draft eligibility, apparently, according to a memo that's been released, could shift by the year 2021, meaning this could be the end of the one and done in college. Love it or hate it?
I'm gonna say hate it because the reason being is if these guys play 1 year of college and prove they stock, let them go and let them give them a chance.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hate as well.
I'm going to say love it because I think that one and done is stupid. I think kids should either be able to go straight out of high school or should be able to stay 4 years or do whatever they want. I think there's no point in sending these kids to the school for 1 year. They're not going to class. They're not learning anything. They're strictly there to play basketball. Everybody knows it. So just get rid of the one and done and be done with it. Chicago Cubs pitcher Brandon Morrow suffered back spasms while taking off his baseball pants. Love it or hate it? All right, love it or hate it, Russell?
Oh, this is one of my LOL moments here, but yeah, I'm gonna say love it.
I love it too. It's too funny.
I love it too. Hopefully this guy's not hurt too bad. This is the kind of crazy things you see in sports where guys get hurt falling out of the shower or riding ATV. Taking your pants off is not normally one we see, though. Now, the Golden State Warriors' Steph Curry, his mouth guard, of course, you know he's real famous for wearing a mouth guard, is from the Warriors' title clincher in Game 4 against the Cavs, is going up for auction. Love it or hate it?
I don't say love it. Get your money.
Well, is it for a charity?
It's probably for a charity.
Well, I'm gonna say love it.
Love it.
Yeah, I doubt that Curry wants that money or needs that money. I'm going to say love it too. Because it's for charity and people buy crazy stuff like this all the time, so you might as well throw that out there.
They might use it for a lot. They can use that for a quick lottery ticket. Hey, I bought this for X amount of time. They can go back and auction it again.
Yeah. Now we were talking about Lane Kiffin and FAU earlier. Lane Kiffin has hired 25-year-old Charlie Weiss Jr. as his offensive coordinator. Of course, Charlie Weiss Sr. might be a familiar name. Coached with the Patriots for a little while. Coached at Notre Dame. Coached Kansas. I want to say he coached at Bama for a season or two, but 25-year-old as Kiffin's OC. Love it or hate it?
I love it. That's give him an opportunity to learn from the offense and be a chip off the old block like his dad.
All right.
Well, I think going back to Oklahoma, I think you're going to hate it. Now I'm going to say love it though because they're going to put up with this when they get there to FAU when they play them. So I'm going to say love it. I think Lane Kiffin makes some good moves.
I'm going to say love it simply because reading up on this kid, and I call him a kid because he is an offensive genius is what they're calling him. This kid's been coaching since he was 19, so he's not even a rookie coach. However, on the other flip of the coin, don't you think it'd be a little weird for a 25-year-old to be coaching guys that are just like 2 years younger than him in some scenarios?
You call him a kid. You call me a kid too, buddy.
You are a kid. And then finally, we were talking about WWE. The WWE wrestlers Fabian Aichner, Killian Dane, and Ricochet played tug of war against a lion cub. Love it or hate it?
I love it for the entertainment.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly put the E in WWE there, and I'm saying love it.
Yeah, again, I love it. This is some of those crazy things, again, we see in sports. Do want to end the show, though, talking about wrestling. Let everybody know, coming up Friday night at 7 o'clock, the SWA, the Sand Hills Wrestling Alliance, is going to be hosting their First Responders Appreciation Show, and Russell and myself will be doing commentary on that for you.
And also, the WWE has suffered a great loss on today. Many of y'all know is Vader, who was a 3-time WCW champion, also came into the WWE, had fused with Shawn Michaels, Kane, and The Undertaker, had passed away on today.
Yeah. So, of course, we hate to hear that about Vader. Of course, thoughts and prayers to his family, the WWE and WCW family as a whole. Do want to recap, of course, the SWA show will be Friday at 7 p.m. There is going to be a First Responders Lumberjack match.
And a Last Man Standing match.
And a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Oh, excuse me, yeah.
And a Falls Count Anywhere match. So a lot of excitement going to be building for that. Again, Russell and I will be providing commentary. A lot of great stuff to see for that show. So, all that being said, that's going to do it for this edition of the RO Sports Show. And there are, so many ways that you can catch us. Matter of fact, should we even name them all? There's too many to name, aren't there?
So many.
So many.
Of course, Facebook, YouTube, the app. You can listen to us on The Classic Rock. Of course, you can also find us on the RO Sports Show specific Facebook page. It's all free.
It's all free.
It's all free. So for Russell Parker, Jeremy McKenzie, I'm Matt Harrelson. We'll see you right back here next week at Thursday at 5:30. Have a great week.